Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday. I am Sarah of Expat in Croatia, and this is 5 Question Friday. Every Friday at 5 o'clock Croatia time, answer 5 questions from people who have sent them in on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, expatinCroatia.com, my consulting sessions, email, and people who write them in the sky. So, hello, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. It's so nice to see you. I'm indoors because daylight savings time. So I'm at home here today. Welcome. Okay, I have so much to tell you. Lots and lots and lots. Okay, so first, who went to the Croatia match on Monday? I did. It was Croatia-Portugal. It was here at Poljud Stadium here in Split. I went with a lovely lady named Drina from Crowear. And it invited me out of the blue and we went. It was so fun. And also at the beginning, they did kind of a memorial for Vukovar because it was on the day kind of honoring the people who fell at Vukovar on Monday. So there was this kind of really beautiful moment where everybody kind of lit up their phones across the entire stadium. But generally speaking, I mean, I had such a great time. I only have been to one other national team game, and it was like 12 years ago. First year I was here. It was a friendly game with Switzerland at Poljud, and I remember like 100 SWAT in riot gear, and I'm like, this is a friendly game with Switzerland. Like, why do we need riot police? But yeah, so I have not been to a game since then, and this was a much bigger deal. This is part of the Nations League, and it was completely packed. It was 34,000 people. Like at a certain point, they put the number of people up on the screen. But I love going to games. I mean, I don't get to games very often, and like I said, this is only my second national team game. Usually, I'm watching national team games on TV somewhere. But this time I got to be there in person, and there were these moments like where I just kind of closed my eyes just so I could kind of hear everything that was going on. And it was just constant singing, constant, national songs, some local Dalmatian songs, all across the stadium. You saw people with flags, like Croatia flags, but ones that were from wherever they were, So there was a whole section for Vukovar, like right across the stadium from me. And then to the right of me, there was Sisak, and like all these villages and towns all over Croatia were represented. It was just like a sea of flags. And I've never seen that in another country. I don't know if that's just a Croatia thing or not. If someone has been in some other country where they do something like that, I would love to hear about it. But I've never seen that. And I think that's one of the most special things that I've witnessed in Croatia, because people are like, they're proud of their country. Like rooting for the national team is not just rooting for a football team, it's rooting for Croatia. And all these people kind of descended on Split from all around the country, any kind of Zagreb Split feud didn't matter. That was completely irrelevant because this was about the national team in Croatia. So I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to go to that game. That was pretty cool. And they didn't lose. They didn't win either. It was a draw, but still, it was absolutely worth going to that game. So I'm really glad I got to do that. What else do I want to tell you? So, all right. So next week is Thanksgiving. So shout out to my Americans. So I have just a little bit of a Croatian story related to Thanksgiving. Okay. So every year I cook a turkey for Thanksgiving because that's what we do. I mean, yeah, there are some families that do some other nonsense. I've got a friend and his family does brisket, and I've got a friend, she's like, well, we don't really like turkey, so we do a chicken. I like turkey and I like making a big turkey. And in the early days that I was in Croatia, it was a bit difficult to find turkeys. And I remember the first year, someone managed to help me get a hold of a wild turkey. Ooh, that was tasty. But it was like a reptile. It was like so long. I had to like trim its spine just to get it into the oven, but it was really delicious. The last few years, I've been getting turkeys at Purex, okay? which is a poultry chain around the country. And that has gone great. Except for one year when I went to go pick it up after ordering it, and they're like, well, we cut it up. And I'm like, well, why did you cut it up? Because I ordered it. But okay, all right. Well, anyways, there's been a little bit of rigmarole with the turkey this year. So Pudex was like, well, we're not going to have any whole turkeys until December 1st, which totally don't understand, because you've got turkey parts. I think they come from whole turkeys, but whatever. Like, we don't have whole turkeys until December 1st, because having turkey in Croatia is actually a Christmas thing. So usually they don't come until December. So I'll give them that. Then we tried a number of other places, including Vindia. Vindia sources meat to Tommy, but they do also have some of like their own individual locations. And this also caused confusion with them as well. They also said the same thing. Then we checked out some OPG, and nobody seems to have turkeys. I did end up finding them, but I want to tell you why there are no turkeys. Because when we called around to find these turkeys, everyone gave the same excuse. Like, we're not going to have turkeys until December because the way the weather has gone, right now we're focused on killing pigs. So I was like, okay, all right. So across Croatia, everybody is working on killing the pigs, slaughtering the pigs, and no one is focused on turkeys, which is why there apparently is some big kind of whole turkey shortage right now. But in the end, thankfully, Vindia does have whole turkeys, but only at very specific places. So tomorrow morning, I'm hoping that I will finally go get my turkey. Yay. Okay. So I wanted to tell you that. Also, I want to tell you about this kind of, you know what? I'm going to wait and tell you my silly bureaucracy story. I do have a silly Croatia bureaucracy story to tell you this week. I told you one last week, but I have a new one this week. I will save that for a little bit later. So you're going to have to stick around to hear that story, okay? But I have more things to tell you. Also, okay, so this week, Tuesday and Wednesday, I did a lecture series at the Split Library, and that was how to assimilate into Croatian culture. I love doing that. That was so super fun. I mean, I've talked a lot about how I do speeches sometimes and how much I love doing speeches, but this was a different kind of thing that I got to do. It was the first time I've done a lecture on Croatian stuff, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I hope that I get to do more of that. I want to give a shout out to a couple of fans who came, Anne-Marie and Hunter. And Anne-Marie I met before. She came down to Dubrovnik, and I also met her at some other events. But Hunter, I mean, I've been communicating with Hunter for many years, and then all of a sudden I got to meet him after all this time, and that was such a treat. So shout out to Hunter. Hey, hey, hey. Yeah, so I really enjoyed that. I'm hoping that the library loved it. So I'm hoping that there's an opportunity to do another lecture like that at the Split Library next year. But I would really love to just do these in general. So we're going to kind of like poke around and see if it's possible for me to do this lecture in other parts of the country. But we really kind of dug into, Croatians as a whole, Croatians by region, because there is definitely some nuance there, and you can't assimilate into the culture unless you understand Croatians better. And then situational culture, how to handle certain situations you might encounter in Croatia, and then challenges and solutions, and how to annoy a Croatian. So that was what we went over. So yeah, that was super cool. I'm really glad to. Oh, and shout out to Gabby in the Split Library. Oh, and Mate from the Split Library. Thank you so much for that opportunity. Okay. Oh yeah. So guys, Christmas wheat time is almost upon us. So go get your Christmas wheat so that way you can start growing it. I think you start growing it on December 6th on Sveta Lucia. So we do have a post on how you can grow Christmas wheat. So if you need that, send us a DM and we will get that over to you. But yes, I grow Christmas wheat every year. I love, love, love doing it. It's super easy and it's really beautiful. Okay. So that's it for now. A reminder, I'm going to tell you about my crazy bureaucracy thing a little bit later. But in the meantime, we're going to dig into the questions, okay? So if you've just joined us, Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm so glad you're here. This is 5 Question Friday, and I'm going to answer 5 questions about Croatia. So this first one comes from na_jib on Instagram. I am a temporary resident in Croatia and recently updated my residential address. Do I need to apply for a new card to reflect my updated address, or is it unnecessary to change it? Yes. Absolutely. Anytime you change your address, you need to go and get a new ID card. It always needs to have your updated address on it. That's the answer. So if you need, we have a guide for this on how you can change your address with the police. So if you are on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, make a comment. If you are on Instagram, send us a DM and we will get that guide over to you. Okay? Oh, YouTube people, the link is down below in the description. Sorry about that. All right, next question comes from Robert in a consulting session. Can children of digital nomads be enrolled in the public school system? Yeah, for sure. So primary school is actually mandatory in Croatia for all children up to the age of 15, which is 8th grade. It's mandatory. Doesn't matter what your citizenship is. So after that, they can be homeschooled, but before that, it's mandatory that they are in either public school or they can do an accredited online program that has to be approved by the Ministry of Education. So you can't just do homeschooling like where the parent teaches the child under the age of 15. That's not allowed in Croatia. I know a lot of foreigners have had trouble with that rule. Okay, so we have a guide on Croatia's education system that's pretty detailed about what you can expect. We also have guides on returnee and the different grades and school shifts and how to find books, all that kind of stuff. But I think Croatia's education system guide, that's the best place to start, and then that will link you out to all of the other stuff that we have. So as I mentioned, Instagram people, DM us, YouTube people, it's down below. Everybody else, just make a comment. All right, next question. We're zipping through today. Coupon Kitties here on Instagram asks, do spouses who apply for citizenship under Article 10 have to relinquish their current citizenship? No. No, they do not. That's it. So we have a couple of guides to share with you. Well, one's a guide, one's a story. So we have a guide on how to apply for citizenship as the spouse of a Croatian. This is for people who are applying through marriage based on descent as well as marriage. That's 2 different articles. So Coupon Kitties asked about Article 10, which Article 10 is when you're applying through marriage based on residence. So that means that you've lived continuously in Croatia for at least 4 years with residence based on family reunification. Then you obtain permanent residence. And then as soon as you got permanent residence, you qualify to apply for citizenship based on Article 10. And then everybody else, if they're doing it through descent, they would apply through Article 11. Okay, so we have a guide on how to apply, and we also have, this is a very new article. I think this only came out last week. So our colleague Daniela, she just was granted citizenship through her spouse. And so she told her story about what that process was like for her. So if you would like either of those things, we have that stuff, okay? So we'd be more than happy to share that with you. All right, this brings us to our lawyer tip of the week. I finally got something that makes noise. Okay. By law, you are allowed to remedy an action done against you without the help of the authorities. Now, I'm going to explain this with a simple example. If someone steals your bike from your yard, you can legally steal it back within 30 days from the date you found out that they stole your bike. For example, you can go into their yard and take the bike back as long as you do not commit another crime related to force. So you can trespass onto their property to take the bike, but you cannot break into their home, for example. If you do not take the bike back within 30 days, then the possession becomes peaceful, meaning you cannot take the bike back on your own. So you can only use the authorities past that 30-day point. Croatia's possession laws are very strong. This is fascinating. I did not know this. So yeah, fun facts. So we have a question. Vanessa, ITHAG. Hi, how to open a business in Croatia. Great question. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but generally speaking, there's a few things to consider. One is going to be like what your resident status is and if you have the right to work already, because that's going to impact the kind of requirements that you are facing. But to actually open up a company, you go to a public notary. And that is related to my bureaucracy thing that we're going to talk about a little bit later at the end of this episode. But yeah, you go to a public notary, you tell them what your activities are going to be, you tell them what your name's going to be. They're going to look up and see if there are any similar names, so that way you can settle on it. The notary is going to kind of prepare all that paperwork, and then you're going to have to go and visit a financial agency called FINA and deposit your startup capital. You're going to have to go to Heathrow, which is another government agency as well. So there's a couple stops that you have to make. And then the paperwork gets finalized, and then you pick it up, and then you have a company and you open up a bank account. So yeah, we have lots of guides on how to open up a company. We have, all the different types of business structures, what the differences are between those business structures. Then we have guides on how to open and close each of those different kinds of business structures. So if you would like more information on how to open up a business in Croatia, then send us a DM. I gotta say, I highly encourage people to open up businesses in Croatia because there's so much opportunity here. A lot. And there are some people who disagree with me on that, and that's their prerogative. But I see tons of opportunity in Croatia, so I know that I can't wait to be able to open up my next company. I'm already been thinking about it. I've got a long list of stuff, but I've got my eye on some things, that's for sure. Thank you for the question. Okay. Katie Lee, I wanted to celebrate with all of you today. Today I received word my Croatian citizenship was approved. That is so great, Katie. Congratulations. Čestitamo. Wonderful. Oh, that must be so exciting for you. I am so happy to hear that. Oh, you must be over the moon. Over the moon. That is a big reason to celebrate. So, how are you going to celebrate? Because you got to do something. And I'm also curious, have you taken the oath? Are they going to call you in to take the oath? I've really found that when people are applying abroad, that it's kind of half and half on whether or not they get called into the consulate to do the oath. But oh man, that is such great news. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I know that we're all excited for you. And that's just, next step is your passport. Yay! Yay! Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad that we could help. Oh, yay. Yay. Oh, cool. Okay, great. Yeah, we do have that guide on next steps on our website. So if you do obtain Croatian citizenship, we do have a guide that's specifically on the next steps, the things that you need to do immediately after. So that can walk you through that process. Oh, really glad for you, Katie. Super duper news. Thank you for sharing that with all of us. Okay. So what's next? Where are we? Here we are. The next question comes from Joyce on 5 Question Friday forum. Can I bring my child to Croatia? Yeah. The simple answer is yes. Yes, you can. So if the parents have a legal basis for residence, then you can always bring a minor child with you. There is one exception though. So if a single parent is moving to Croatia with a child, then you need to have written, notarized, apostilled permission from the other parent that they can come to Croatia. That goes for citizenship as well. But some people are like, well, I have full custody. Croatia doesn't recognize full custody. So if you're in a situation where you have full custody, or it's a situation where you don't feel like you can reach out to the other parent, or don't want to, or there's a security issue, or whatever it is, in that case, definitely consult a lawyer who can help you work it out, because there are international laws that are going to apply in that situation. So, and then in addition to Croatia's laws. So it's not going to be so simple as you might think it is. Okay. But yes, if both parents are going to be here, then yes, you can definitely bring your child with you. So we can always hook you up with a vetted lawyer who speaks English, who is experienced in family law. We have a few family law specialists in our network. So if you would like that introduction, we do have a page on our site. It's expatinCroatia.com/lawyer. You can also message us directly and we will hook you up, personally. And if you're on YouTube, then you can find the link to that down in the below description. Okay. How do you get permanent residence in Croatia? So generally, there's basically two kind of thresholds for the most part for permanent residence. Well, you know what? I got to take a step back because there's something else that's more important to define first. Okay. So in Croatia, you have permanent residence and you have long-term residence. Permanent residence is something that only spouses of Croatians can get, and then long-term residence is for everybody else. Now, I did hear something from somebody this week, which I need to double check, was that permanent residence is like a Croatia recognized permanent residence, but long-term residence is recognized by the EU. I need to dig into that a little bit more, but the thing is like permanent residence is only an option for spouses. So everyone else is long-term residence. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, spouses can apply for a permanent residence after 4 years of continuous residence. Everybody else can apply after 5 years of continuous residence. If you are a spouse, you do not have to take the language test. If you're an EU national, you don't have to take the language test. Everybody else has to take the language test. So it's a B1 level Croatian test. You also have to show everybody else, this is not the spouse bucket, they also have to show that they have a Croatian salary. That's also important. That's the reason I opened my company and turned Expat in Croatia into company, is because I needed to have a Croatian salary. So that's why that happened. We do have a detailed guide on how to apply for permanent residence for spouses and long-term residence for EUs and long-term residence for third country nationals, because there's nuance to all of those situations. So if you want more detail on that, including the requirements and like the step-by-step instructions, send us a DM, okay? I saw we had another question. Oh, hey, Drina, welcome. Okay. When you get your domovnica, do you still have to take the oath? Well, it depends. So you're supposed to take your oath. But in my experience, talking to our clients and our audience members who've gotten citizenship abroad, it sounds like it's kind of a 50-50 chance whether or not the consulate actually calls them in to take the oath. So I would prepare for the possibility that you'll be called in to take the oath, but you may not. You may not. I don't know why there's been this kind of like inconsistency, but I'm guessing it's just because Croatian government is inconsistent. It always is. It always has been. It always will be. And that is just one further example of the inconsistency. But we do have the oath on our website if you would like to practice it. Thank you for the question. Okay, let me go back down. Okay, so this is our last question. This comes from Darko on Facebook. As a returnee, I have the right to ship my personal belongings duty-free one time. But if I'm on extended vacation in Croatia and I'm offered a job, will I lose my duty-free privilege as a returnee should I decide to move to Croatia at a later date? No, not at all. It's not like First, let me clarify what he means by duty-free privilege. When you import stuff into Croatia, like your personal belongings or a car, there are specific rules you have to follow in terms of customs procedures. And in certain cases, like if you're going to bring a vehicle, you are going to be taxed. Like you have to submit to a customs tax. Everybody does. Okay? How much you pay and which taxes, that's a little bit more nuanced depending on your situation. There's a lot of variables, so I'm not going to go over those right now. But that's what we're talking about. So essentially he's saying, I'm coming to Croatia on vacation. If I'm offered a job and then I want to move stuff over later, do I still get that one-time free customs? And that was such a horrible way of explaining that. That was very sloppy. Sorry, guys. It's Friday afternoon. What can I say? Let me try that again. He will be entitled to bring stuff in one time, customs free. Personal belongings, that is. Personal belongings only. I want to make sure I stress that. So the vacation doesn't matter. It's about when you move here, like the one time. So if he gets offered a job and then he relocates, then that's okay. So accepting a job in Croatia doesn't automatically trigger your duty-free status. You'd still need to formally register as a resident, and then you use that residence as the basis for doing the import with the tax-free status on personal belongings. So related to this, we do have a guide on how to import a car and your personal belongings into Croatia. It goes over all the taxes and the procedure and everything you need to know. So if you would like that, YouTube people, it's down below. LinkedIn, Facebook, give a comment. Instagram people, send us a DM and we will get that over to you. So that's how it goes. Okay, so those are our questions. I do have one more thing I want to share with you. This is my silly bureaucracy story for the week. Oh, let me stop. Natty Doch. What is the protocol to bring a cat to Croatia? Oh, easy peasy. So there's 3 things that you need to abide by. Your pet has to be chipped. You need to have either a pet passport or you need to have a certificate from your vet, and they need to have a current rabies vaccination. That's it. Now, we do have a guide that goes into more detail on this if you would like it, how to bring your pet to Croatia. So you can find that on expatinCroatia.com or send us a DM and we can get that over to you. Okay? Rad. Cool color contrasting. Thank you. I love a pop of color. Okay. So now I'm going to tell you about my silly bureaucracy thing that happened this week. Okay. When I opened my company, I opened a JDOO in 2018. And as I alluded to earlier, I opened up my company because I was applying for long-term residence and I needed a Croatian salary. Okay. So that is why I opened my company. Now, of course, in the beginning, I was like, okay, I want to turn Expat in Croatia into a company at that time. But just because I turned it into a company at that time doesn't mean I immediately started making money. I didn't, it wasn't for like 2.5 years before we even had a product to sell, which is the consulting. That was the first thing that we offered as an actual service. So for more than 2.5 years, I was funding the company personally. I had another business that I had, web development, and I was loaning this Expat in Croatia money to pay my salary because it was mandatory by the government that the director be paid a salary. Okay. So because of that, because I wasn't immediately starting to make money and I didn't have quite a plan for services yet, yada, 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 I opened up a JDOO because at the time it only cost 10 kuna of startup capital with like a euro 33, which I found out yesterday or whenever it was. Yeah, yesterday. But if I had opened up a DOO, then it would have been like, how much was it? 20,000 kuna. 20,000 kuna. Now the equivalent is 2,500 euros. Okay. So given the fact that I didn't have money to just throw away into the business, I took the cheaper route. That's why I opened up a JDOO, okay, instead of a DOO. They're both LLCs, but one requires far less startup capital than the other. Now, fast forward. For some years now, I've been nagged by lawyers to convert into a DOO because there's a lot of prejudice against JDOO, because since there's such a small amount of startup capital, people look at you as you are not serious. You're not a serious business. But then on the other additional part is that you're like a money launderer, because there were a lot of companies that it would be like a DOO at the top, and then it would open up like 100 JDOOs under it, and they would just kind of move money around in a bit of a shady manner. So nothing was good. Nothing's good about the prejudice against a JDOO. And this really has infuriated me. Like, has gotten under my skin in a very, very real way, because I am a legit business. I'm not a money launderer. And I am serious. And this is a business structure that is available to us in Croatia. So why is there this nonsense? Why is there this nonsense? It's so silly. It's silly. It's silly. But then I just got worn down. I got worn down, and the thing is even though it is a legitimate business structure that you can use, the prejudice is real. The prejudice is real. And I didn't want my company to suffer. And it's impossible to know in what ways, if any, my company has suffered because it has a JDOO at the end. But it's possible that that is a prejudice that has occurred. And I just got tired of hearing about it. So this past yesterday, I sat at the notary for an hour with my colleague and a court interpreter and the public notary, and converted my company into a DOO. It's going to take 2 weeks to process, because it's a human process that goes on in splits and in Zagreb and the court and blah, 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 blah. But, it ain't cheap to do this. It's like 1,000 euros just for the notary to do this kind of change. So, in hindsight, would I have done it differently? No, I wouldn't. Because at the time, still 10 kuna versus 20,000 kuna. But it's done now. So in 2 weeks, my company will officially be a DOO. Yay. And will no longer have to experience this silly nonsense prejudice that apparently exists against this business structure. So, I'm really glad that it's over with, but I wanted to make sure that I shared this with you out there, because as I just said a few minutes ago, I really strongly encourage people to become entrepreneurs in Croatia, because there is lots of opportunity. Even though sometimes you're going to have to deal with some stupid, silly crap. But I would say for the most part, it's actually really favorable to have a business in Croatia, but sometimes there are things like this. So I wanted to share you not just that, but also, do a DOO instead of a JDOO. I know it's enticing that it's only like €33 in startup capital, but don't get distracted by those shiny keys and just go all in. Because if we're being real, the director has to be paid a salary, and the minimum wage, you're probably going to be paying 1,500 euros a month with contributions and minimum wage to the director anyways. And you can use that startup capital of 2,500 euros for business expenses. So you might as well just go ahead and do that. You're going to have to pay that salary on the first, before the first 15th of the first month anyways. So my advice would be to avoid the JDOO and go with the DOO at all costs, so that you don't have to run into this problem, because a conversion is not fun. It's not fun. Yeah, that's my story. So I saw some questions up here. Let me see. Corinne, the PNW. Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, I do feel some relief about it, because now I won't be inactive about it anymore. I won't. I mean, in fact, we're part of the American Chamber of Commerce, our company, and, that's like a bunch of Fortune 500s, and they won't let us put Expat in Croatia. It has to be our actual company name, which our company name is Mala Plava Hobotnica. It's not Expat in Croatia. So we're forced to put the JDOO there, and it's visible to everybody. And I mean, I've looked at that list. I don't see any other JDOOs on the list, so I think that was probably what sent me over the edge about it, is just kind of really reflecting on that a little bit. So thank you so much. Sometimes you just got to do these kinds of things, and it's okay. It really is. All right. I want to go back. Natty Doe, is that rule the same if you have citizenship, making a Croatian income to become a citizen? No, there are no income requirements for becoming a Croatian citizen. I know there was one at one time. I actually learned from a friend last week, but he got citizenship 15, 20 years ago. So But now there is no income requirement for citizenship. Not at all. For none of the cases. You know, because there's all these different bases on which you can get citizenship. And the requirements are different based on the different, you know, article that you go under. And so, like, for example, if you're naturalizing, like doing Article 8, which very rarely does anyone do Article 8 because it's for people who are not married to a Croatian, they don't have descent, they have no other connection to Croatia, they're just kind of on their own, like Woah. Then, you know, they have to give up their other citizenship. They have to take the language and culture test kind of thing. But not even them do they have to prove that they have an income in Croatia. So no, that's not a requirement. That's a great question, actually. Thank you. Okay, I think Ljuti Ketsup, can you please talk on Croatian? Is there something you'd like me to say? In particular, you don't understand English. You're typing in English. You're typing in English quite a bit. But yeah, was there something you'd like me to say? Ja sam iz Teksasa. Živim u Splitu 12 godina. There you go. Oh, Logan's here. Hi, Logan. So guys, that's the end of this today. Thank you so much for being here. If you want a question answered in the future, feel free to send us a DM or make a comment and you might see your question answered in the future here. So, yeah. Ooh, what's up this weekend? Is there anything up this weekend that's interesting? No, I don't think so, but the sun's back out. It's been raining all week. So I hope that you all enjoy your weekend to the absolute fullest. And next Friday, I will be here. It will be the day after Thanksgiving, so I will have a giant food baby and yeah, stuffed with leftovers. So happy Thanksgiving to all of my American folks out there. I hope you enjoy your holiday. Oh, I should remind, so Expat in Croatia closes for Thanksgiving. Because we had myself and another American on staff in the early days, and I was like, I didn't feel right taking those days off and not giving them to everybody else. So actually, our company's closed on Thursday and Friday. Everybody gets those days off. So even if they don't celebrate Thanksgiving, they have those days off to spend time with their families. So just a heads up that next Thursday and Friday, we will not be in the office, but we will be back at the following Monday. And that's about it. Hey, Jeff! Welcome! Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for Thanksgiving. All right, I'm going to go off on a tangent for a minute. So Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. I love it so much. I love getting together with all my friends and who've really become my family here in Croatia. So I make a big meal and, you know, the friends I have over, usually there's like one other American. Everybody else is from all over countries, all over the world. And they just really enjoy the tradition of Thanksgiving. They love the idea behind it, like giving thanks. They love the food because I make the same thing every year. I'm really kind of like intense about that. It's like I want the things that I want. So I cook all of the things. And yeah, it's something that I really love sharing. And I find that Croatians love Thanksgiving the most. The first Thanksgiving I did in Croatia, I invited the woman who helped me find my apartment and the woman who helped me open up my first company. They're the only people I knew. And wanted to thank them for all the help that they gave us because they really went above and beyond. It was really sweet of them. That's when I got the wild turkey that I couldn't fit in the oven and had to sever its spine to make it fit. And they were so apprehensive about having cranberry sauce with turkey. And then they tried it and they said, this is amazing. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I wish we could get fresh cranberries in Croatia. One time I found frozen cranberries at Spard with the frozen fruit. Never saw them again. Sad. So sad. But there's dried cranberries. It's not the same, but you know, it'll do. It'll do. So if anybody has a good cranberry sauce recipe that they use with dried cranberries, I would love to see it. I would totally love to see it. All right. I see a lot of people have just joined. We are at our conclusion, but do not worry because I will post a replay here in just a moment. And have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Vedimo se. Ciao, bye. Bye, bye, bye.